Welcome back.
Oh, I feel welcomed back.
Good.
It's funny when I'm off, you go to your other lover every time.
It it feels that way, I'm sure.
You go to your mistress, Rich Ryan, your mistress. How are you two together?
We didn't have any contact on this episode.
What do you mean?
Rich put out he went solo the same week I went solo.
Oh,
He put out a how to build a training running plan for High Rocks, and on Race Brains episode, Mason was like, "You should put out one that just contradicts him." Because I said that you were gone this week. I said I actually like the idea a lot, but I'm not even going to listen to his. I'm just going to put out that exact same topic since we have
interesting.
crossover listener base, and then afterwards listen to it. So I messaged Rich. I'm like, hey, here's a picture of the album or the album art for this episode. If you don't want me to do this, tell me. He's like, go for it as long as you're like, I think his quote was, as long as you're fine being like absolutely roasted online about it. It's like, yeah, sure. So
I have not listened.
I did the exact same episode, and his was 41 or 42 minutes. I did 41 minutes worth.
Well, now I have to listen.
I gave myself the same time limit of his without knowing at all what he talked about.
So you did another soliloquy episode.
I just talked for 40 minutes.
You have a nice voice to listen to. Your voice is much softer on the ears than mine. You're enjoyable
I'm
to listen
softer
to.
in general than you.
I don't know. I haven't seen you shirtless in a while.
I love that you went right physically.
I assume that's what you meant. No, I'm glad you and Rich could team up. I miss talking with Rich and all you guys on Race Brain. I really enjoy Rich and Jack and everybody.
But no, there was no team up whatsoever. In fact, I even copied his exact episode title.
Oh, that's good. All right, I'll have to go listen when I got some. I took an entire 8 days off of running Bracken. I
Really?
didn't do I didn't do a single strength workout. I didn't run at all for 8 days straight. And it's funny, I didn't miss it 1%. I didn't miss it at all. I was so ready. I think I've been so consistent for so long that like it wasn't hard to break the habit. It was just like it was really nice to decompress. And I went for my first run yesterday, Monday. I went for 6 miles of no given, just go run, heart rate drift high. Not is like gray zone running, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
whatever it was. And I wasn't enjoying it even a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I was like, this is stupid. Why am I running? And then I went today for a shorter one and I sort of enjoyed it again. It's just so interesting that it's our life. And it's funny, like the relationship is never perfect, I think, is what I'm getting at. And I really enjoyed my time away from it. I don't know if that means anything or not. I'm coming back to her running. Don't worry. But it's just a note. It's just noteworthy for me. Normally, I'm craving it by the end of time off, and this time, I was like, I could go another week if I had to. What does that tell you?
But you took it at the right time.
I was telling Jess for multiple weekends in a row, going out for long runs, but like I don't have a race on the calendar, being like, I don't want to go today, but I'd go because I'm disciplined. And so I think you're right. It was time for just a reset.
It's been a remarkable stretch of training for you.
Years.
Through several potential injuries that didn't like fully manifest the way they would have in the past.
Nothing has taken me out since 2021.
Yeah.
So 2, 3, 4, I mean, 5 full years of health. Yeah. This November, October. Yeah. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
What's new with you? Anything? We have sort of an abbreviated episode today. Maybe we have 40 minutes for today's. So is there anything we need to get caught up on?
No, but just talking about anniversaries in November, I am 2 weeks away roughly from a turkey trot being available for it for the first time in 3 years.
Meaning like time wise, physically available or health wise? Okay.
Health wise. Yeah. The last 2 years in a row, I was not able to go do the turkey trot I wanted to.
Is it the old 8K distance, the old 8K turkey trot?
I'm not even sure anymore exactly what this one is. I think it's a 5-miler.
Okay. Why is turkey trots? You notice that the 5 mile, the 8K distance is like the only time you see it is Thanksgiving. I can't figure out why that is.
I don't know.
But have you noticed that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's
so you're gonna
noteworthy for me. Well, we'll see. I have a high rise between now and then.
Oh yeah, God, this weekend.
Next weekend. I'm
Oh,
doing
you're not.
Dallas, not Chicago.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
been some confusion over that.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. I mean, Chicago's a drive, Dallas is a flight. Of course, there'd be
Right.
confusion.
Yeah. Although
Okay.
Dallas might turn into a drive as well with flight cancellations. Dallas is one of United's affected routes
Mm.
out of Chicago.
That'd be like a 20-hour drive. 16.
I think it's 14 and a half.
All right. Well, I wish you the
You
best.
can make it 20 in Texas, but 14, I think, is Dallas.
Okay. All right. Well, I will look
So we'll
forward to
see.
seeing how that goes. You should run the turkey trot.
Well, my entire plan is to.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not going to hurt as much as the high rocks.
If it does, I'm in fantastic shape,
Because
which
you can sit in
I'm
it.
not.
I'm going to look forward to that race recap. I'll tell you that much.
Although the last time I ran one, I held 550 pace for 8K. And I just did my first outdoor run since like June, just to start building some durability in my legs. And do you remember what I said was the least bang for your buck workout possible?
Yeah, like the 4-mile tempo at marathon pace.
That's what I did.
but
it was faster than marathon pace. Obviously.
But if you're training for a marathon, it becomes less effective. But
Yeah,
for general fitness, it's a good workout.
I did a erg-based threshold and then went out for that. So
and
I figured it was a finisher. It wasn't a standalone, but it was like 550 something for 4 miles. So I know I at least can race that. So I'm not in worse shape than the last time I did a turkey trot.
You know what makes a lot of sense is living in Wisconsin, choosing to train indoors all summer, and then right when the crappy weather comes around, committing to outdoor running.
Yeah.
You make no sense.
Nope.
You got your first flurries, I believe, down there.
Yeah, we got our first snow on the ground.
Yeah, well, that's backwards.
All right, to the questions.
Yeah, so we got 10. I got 10 screenshots here. And I think it might just be worth dissecting some of these just to clean it up. It's only been roughly 5 weeks since the furthest removed question.
Yeah.
So why don't we just see how many of these we can crank out?
Okay, I want to start by announcing to whoever you are out there that messaged through the website, and I answered you and said, could I actually do this on a Training Tuesday instead? And you said yes, and we've never hit that. Can you please resubmit that question? I saved it for later, but it had been spammed. We're having this website thing where it spams our contact form. And after however many days, the spam folder gets erased.
Oh.
So I can't actually find that email anymore.
All right.
So if you have not had your question that I told you we would do on a Training Tuesday, if you have not had that answered, please message us.
Just message the Running Public IG account. I handle it. I'll see it. I'll screenshot it. I'll take care of it. I will make sure your question does not go unnoticed. All right. Ready?
Ready.
This is from Kelly. Kelly just crushed the Indianapolis Marathon. Kelly, well done with a crazy lead-in and unideal circumstances. She went out there and took care of business.
Is it athlete of yours?
Yeah, Kelly.
I have an athlete I worked with who ran the Indianapolis Marathon.
Well, good job to your athlete, Kelly. Way to go. Dusty Jameson?
Dusty Jameson. PR, just misses PR, but got his BQ by like 3 minutes and 45 seconds.
I think Kelly's going to BQ. She's like 4 minutes underneath the qualifying standard.
And I'm like, not a gimme anymore.
And I'm like, oh man, we're going to have to it's going to be like by seconds, I think. All right, Kelly. Anyways, this is via email on our weekly email exchange. It says, Hola, Jefe. I have been meaning to write this to you for a bit now. On our last call, we talked about possibly doing High Rocks in Vegas, but I want to add a broader question that might help me truly decide what to do in off season. I'm a person that likes having goals or challenges that I'm working toward, but obviously in the off season and in the winter, it is nice to have a break mentally and physically from run racing. I'd like to have a little mental downtime this winter by adding a different challenge in the mix, but keeping in mind the ultimate goal of laying a foundation that will lead me to being faster in 2026. So what is the best way to balance a little mental break, but staying serious about getting faster? Is High Rocks the best way to accomplish this? Is learning to ski the better way to get faster at running? Is it best to do a trial of miles for someone that has never really gotten over 55 miles per week? By the way, I did that 2 weeks ago with you, exclamation point. She says, what about incorporating more cycling and Zwift races into the mix? What else am I not thinking of? I'd love to get your and Brakken's thoughts on how to balance having a bit of a mental break while still making continuing to gain run speed progression. How many of us has not felt this way before?
Everyone at some point.
Right. And so I really wanted to make sure we covered this one. I just did a bit of talking. Why don't you do some?
I guess starting in narrow before I expand out, if you have any interest in doing a high rocks, it is an event to arrive more prepared than less. So while my answer might differ for a different goal, I think a high rocks off season is a beautiful thing to think about now, because if you don't do it, you're still better for it as an athlete, especially if you don't put in a big amount of time trying to gain mass. If you just focus on power output and being ready for station demands, it won't take away from your running at all. But if you do decide it, you will never, ever, ever regret starting early on a high rocks prep, just like an ultra. I think those two things, like the earlier you start, the better. So that's not my answer to everyone, but for her specifically, if you have any inkling, start doing some high rock stuff.
All right, you don't have all the context here. So,
No, I don't.
Right. So the main concern, as Kelly is not, she's aging, as she would say, and she feels like her speed is degrading
Got
in
it.
the last few years. So she's asking, the big focus is while still continuing to gain run speed progression. She's not hitting paces on the shorter could be a 5K, for example, that she would like to. And so that is slipping between her fingers. And so in her case, she's done Ironmans. She has so many years of bank deposits. My advice to her was actually high rocks is not going to make you faster. In fact, it's going to make you slower.
Potentially, yeah.
In her case, if we want to work efficiency, it's okay to rattle the cage, and maybe she'll see some left field gains from that could very well happen just by change in stimulus, especially strength focus might make you a little bit more twitchy, potentially power driven. But I really think that focusing on high rocks, if running your best 5K mile is the priority,
carryover.
I would almost say high rocks would make you worse. Instead, in the winter, we could focus on, if it's treadmill, who cares? But let's do some power-based biomechanical work, and let's do some fun stuff that we don't play with when you're marathon training nearly as much. So
yeah,
that was my knee-jerk reaction to her question from that lens.
With that perspective, I would go in on run a lot of zone 2 volume and then run as many mini speed workouts as you can safely fit in a week.
Explain that further, because I like where you're going.
Let's run like we're doing off-season base work for an ultra. Let's do a bunch of miles. Let's get to that 55, 60 mile per week goal by the end of base phase or more. But instead of doing your big quality sessions, let's do several small speed sessions initially, and then maintenance work on whatever else you need to do. But 800 meter or mile or 400 meter workouts, but half dose to start with, real mechanical speed work. Drive some power.
I agree with you fully. It's just tough to do that outside in the winter on those really cold days, right?
Yes.
But you can pick your windows, and the treadmill, I think, is a very serviceable option for those style of sessions if it's in conjunction with outdoor running for your, let's say, low and slow stuff.
Now, I believe most people, with the help of the incline, can comfortably and safely run 400 meter race pace on a treadmill. Maybe not comfortably in terms of this is comfortable, but not like I'm going to fly off this thing, or I can't start or stop, or you may have to build into it by hitting the button up into the range you want to get to. But I think right around 400 meter pace or slightly faster is very attainable for normal humans on a treadmill. Even if it's the equivalent, you got to bump up to 5% incline and then do the equivalent effort. But I've done serious speed work on a treadmill. I used to have a treadmill that would go down to 350 something mile pace. I had one that went up to 20 miles per hour for a while.
Whew.
And that's, what was that, 3-minute pace?
Yes, quick, yeah.
Yeah. So I got down, I think the commercial one I had got down to either 319 or 329 per mile.
What did you have?
I had a commercial Star Trek unit, like a
Hmm.
7600 or something. It was the
Why,
first
why,
commercial unit I ever
why'd you
owned.
get rid of that?
Eventually the speed sensor on the motherboard went out.
Oh, okay.
And I
It's like, that's a
replaced that, and then the
fantastic
next
machine.
thing did, and it was gonna be like $700 of just electronics for the next fix or whatever, but it was
Got
great. I loved it. But I would do this was back in OCR, and Hobie was famous for doing the short sub 4-minute mile pace speed intervals. Short, like 10 to 20 seconds worth, but
it. Hmm.
frequently throughout his training week, he would do these things to stay sharp like that. And so I was doing things like that. And so I would down around 320, 330 pace per mile for 10 to 20 seconds. So like extrapolate that to an aging athlete. Could you run 440 pace for 10 seconds or 540 or whatever that is for you? I think most people can do that.
Didn't Hobie Call do those sessions with a band around his waist and hips
Eventually he
as
got to
well,
that. Yeah.
pulling him backwards on the treadmill, like the anchor was behind the treadmill? Kind of
Yeah.
wild, huh?
So that he had to lean into it, which I actually like. And then eventually he
Mhm.
was doing it with a weight vest on. He was running like 359 pace with a weight vest on.
That's wild.
Again, he took everything to the nth degree, but the what it led me to doing was real speed work on a treadmill. And it takes a little bit, but you can get comfortable doing that. So I even think a treadmill option for a cold weather climate really works over the off season.
I love that. Like, I don't know, 6. I love the 6% grade for like speed work.
Yeah.
Still your flat stride, but it's very power driven. The treadmill doesn't
Harder
have
to
to.
hurt yourself.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, it's see the thing that depends on this is like, for example, when I found OCR, which we can call it hybrid training because we were doing a lot of broken running,
Hmm.
like it actually made me faster over duration. But
Yep.
but my arrow in my quiver was speed. I could
Yeah.
go hang on for a mile, but I couldn't for a half marathon. And so it forced me to make a lot of aerobic bank deposits and run under duress. So I think it's a very circumstantial question. In her case, I think leaning more into the speed. But I mean, how many times like rolling the dice and just doing something new so that maybe just maybe you come back to running with purpose and a new perspective and craving just the purity of it again by hybrid training for a bit
Yeah.
might be powerful in itself. So it's not super like the waters aren't terribly clear, I don't think.
No. And to make this even more nonsensically complicated, my belief is that if you don't have a strong running background, hybrid running rewards the style of stride that triathlon rewards, which is not a bouncy fast stride. It's a hyper efficient stride because all of your strides are taken on race day under extreme duress.
Yep.
Like the Ironman stride or Olympic stride for a 10K is very arm heavy for triathletes, but they're efficient with it. It's just like a constant cycling motion. And they're more of midfoot to rear foot strikers
Mm-hmm.
than their contemporaries are. Even when they're running 242, like 230 marathons at the end of a race, they're still it's like I'm beat down and now I've gotten rid of anything extra bouncy or snappy or
Yeah.
energy filled, and I'm just running the purest, least taxing stride possible. And High Rocks gets that type of stride too. You see that on race course. There are very few people that are super
Mm-hmm.
bouncy, and those that are
Mm-hmm.
were already bouncy runners prior. So as an aging athlete who's looking to stop speed atrophy, I don't think High Rocks compromised running would be your ticket. No.
Me either. But I still love it because it could do so many good things. And the focus in training for a middle-aged female athlete who may be losing muscle mass and
Yeah.
experiencing hormonal changes and then putting a lot of time under duress in the gym and then with station type work could ultimately just raise the whole ship.
Yeah.
So like point being is we could talk ourselves in circles or out of both sides of our mouth with it. But I'm going to say long answer short, still a speed focus, if speed progression in your 45-ish plus age range, I
Yeah.
think is important.
So let's do speed work. Let's do big mileage, slow mileage, really good fast speed work, and then have your strength work and your circuit days be High Rocks driven. Then you've covered all your bases, and you can pivot to whatever you want after that.
We have a call coming up, Kelly. You and I'll chat about it.
There we
Next
go.
question.
Next question.
Steve. Steve says, "Hey guys, thanks for answering this question. One more High Roxy one for you, if that's okay. Matt Fitzgerald has written extensively on 80-20 running and 80-20 for triathlon. Could 80-20 hybrid training work? And if so, how?"
Yeah, sure.
Do you think you are covering all the bases efficiently and effectively and thoroughly if you're only, in quotes, working hard 20% of the time, regardless to the modality?
No,
That's the hard part.
no, because for example, like ski erg, I think a high percentage of your ski erg work should be threshold or above. So some things scale really well, like cycling and rowing. You can do bigger volume without having to. But even rowing, I don't know. There are some blocks where I prep for high rocks where 90 to 95% of my rowing meters are threshold or above.
Hard efforts in of some capacity.
But then you make up for it with the easy cycle work or whatever. And then I do less running quality volume as a result of that. So I think it can work, but even he talks about how like the classic model is somewhere between 90-10 and 70-30.
Hmm.
It's like 70-30 is probably it.
Yeah. Yeah, I still think you could get away, like, if you just look time domains and effort levels, like, I think one of the misconceptions with hybrid training is that when you're hybrid training or you're hitting these hybrid specific WODs, that it has to be like at some sort of race effort or feel, so it always has to be hard.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you're run training for a 5K, and we can easily wrap our heads around, hey, I'm going to run very easy these 2 days and then run very hard this day and then run easy another 2 days and run hard this day. With hybrid training, it's like, hey, I'm going to do easy aerobic work between, but when I do my hybrid station work, I'm inside out, brother, and
Right.
I'm up to my eyeballs in lactate and I have to hate my life. When you could absolutely, I think, model it in a very, midweek long run Thursday moderate effort type way, and some easy recovery effort station work mixed with running at just low grade just to grease the biomechanical groove. And so you could jig it that way. I just don't think a lot of people do.
No. I think it's hard for people to comprehend the level of gears that a experienced athlete has at their disposal. You look at your own running. When you first start running, your first month running, you couldn't do zone 1 running. That
Unless
wouldn't
you
be an
walked.
option. And if I told you what your zones were and said move back and forth between zone 2 and zone 3, you probably couldn't do it. It would be hard to then do a float workout and go in between zone 4 and zone 3 back and forth. It'd be very difficult. If you ever went 5, you're screwed for the rest of it. Whereas when you become more well versed at running, you have all these gearing options you can do. I can sit at the high end of zone 2, and then I might play into zone 3 low for a little bit because you can just modulate like that. You can feather it on and off. You see, like people talk about with fighting, like, oh, that puncher's pulling his punches. You could tell he's not
Mhm.
like putting everything. Like, a normal person can't fathom that in the middle of a fight, being like, I'm gonna throw at like 3/4 speed here. But they
Mhm.
can because they have so much time into it. And the same thing happens with high rocks work and strength work. Is early on, it's hard to imagine doing a high rock circuit or station at half speed or tempoing it, for lack of a better term. Like just go do a
Mhm.
7 to 8 out of 10 on this circuit of burpee broad jumps and lunges and wall balls. But Dylan Scott can do that.
Mhm.
Rich Ryan can do that. Meg Jacoby can do that. The people who have spent their time doing it, they can tempo high rocks work. And then you don't have to do it all, turn yourself inside out. So up front, it's hard for people to even comprehend how would I not go hard all the time. But the more you do something, the more options you have at how you do it.
Yeah, it's tricky. And you look at it like, let's just say a lot of the way I like to work it when we're in a lead into a hybrid race, let's just use the traditional like Tuesday quality. It's going to be a hybrid Metcon with running and station work, and it's going to be high output. But then Thursday, maybe they need work on the machines, and it's another like thresholdy ski and row session 2 days later. And then maybe every other week there's some quality in their long run too. You start adding that up and you're like, that ain't 80/20 times in spent
Right.
working. I think effectively you can get away with a skewed percentage because of the non-impact base of the machine work. Would
Yeah,
you agree?
for sure. And just like triathlon or other things, like they said, you can have 100% of your running be quality if you wanted. I run 3 times per week. They're all quality sessions. I get my volume somewhere else. Is it best practice for everyone? No, but you can. And now what does that do to your percentage? Like that's going to screw with things. So the more components you throw into training, the harder it is to keep your percentages clear and clean. But I'll tell you for sure, going back to Rich tracks these things. He tracks his time spent at and around and over a threshold each week. Like these top athletes have their percentages. They know what they're hitting. It just may not be clean 80-20.
I don't think anything's clean. Somebody sent us a message about their vote for dirty running.
Dirty running?
Must have been in response to your episode on Tuesday.
Okay.
Anyways, a lot of dirty running going on. A lot of
dirty running.
Like if you're going to prescribe a station finisher, for example, which an athlete needs work on, let's say it's a BBJ lunge wall ball metcon, which would be terrible, but I prescribe them to those who need it. Then you look at the heart rate data from it, and that was an end cap to a strength session or a machine session. Like, how do you track? Where does that fall? Like, let me guess what your heart rate's doing towards the back half of that metcon.
Right.
You're working. So I don't know. I guess you could add up. You could do what Rich does and look at percentages and add up time and zones and see what that means. But then where does structural damage fall in the whole thing versus aerobic output? It gets very cloudy.
Yeah.
But what would you say his answer? Could you apply 80-20 to hybrid? Yes.
Yeah.
Move on. I'll be curious what you say to this next one.
Okay.
Kelly. Different Kelly. Hello, I listened to the Q&A episode that started off talking about the TikTok influencer discussion. I had a follow-up question related to that topic. In today's world of social media, this is before we did like our social media episode. This was it. In today's world of social media, influencers and clickbait, how would you recommend somebody in search of a coach/training program find one that is legitimate? There are so many programs out there. How should potential clients weed out the influencers who are potentially false advertising their success to try to get clients from coaches like you?
I'm going to give you the answer that I give my kids when they ask about things, which is like, I'm sorry, this is the environment you have to grow up in. You're dealing with problems that we didn't have to and that we don't fully comprehend. It's just a different world. So yeah, there is so much more noise than there's ever been. There's also more info than there's ever been, but there's more noise out there. So I think the grounding rod in all of this is the human aspect. And so trying to find people you trust related to people you're interested about. So if your buddy has had success with a coach or knows of people who have had successes with coaches, I believe podcasts are actually good for identifying if you would be a good fit for their coaching. So many coaches have a podcast now. And what we have figured out, well, after doing this, once you get over 6 months to a year, it just would become super taxing to keep faking it. Yeah. And my belief is most people let their true self out over time. Like, you've been on a reality TV show. How long did it take for you to just get numb to the fact that there were cameras and just like let your real self out at times when you would have told yourself like, don't do that on camera, Kirk. Yeah. And then eventually you're just numb to it and your real self comes out.
I mean, it was a must if you wanted to stick around.
But it happens when you think like I would never, ever forget that I'm on camera. Mm-hmm. And you do. Most of us aren't equipped. I think you have to be a little bit of a psychopath to be able to fake things for years straight. So my belief is if you listen to a podcast past the point where they run out of new material, I think you're going to get a really good sense of if the coaches are going to be a good fit and if they can do what they talk about. Because you get these new hot podcasts that pop up after someone has a big run or a big race or whatever, and they've got momentum and they start a podcast and they're all great and they've got their thing. And then after a while, people start finding all these issues with them. So I think podcasts are actually maybe your best choice because people put their whole selves out there after a while.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I'm going to give the surface social media answer, which is just like if you're actually consuming influencer content or coach content on social media, I would say, first of all, you actually send them a message and have a real digital conversation with them that is followed up with some sort of, hey, this person is actually investing in a conversation with me to either get me on their program or answer my questions. And it's not some bot and it's not some cookie cutter. So message them and get a response. And then number two, if you're just looking for quick, like they don't have a podcast or you can't listen to them for a year before you decide, right? Like, right. And then also I think there's a lot of value in reading the comments. And if there are true users that say like, hey, I did start your program 6 weeks ago and I just hit a, like, if they're really popular influencers, you're going to have interaction with people who are on the program in the comment section to some of the stuff they post, and you could vet them those two ways. If there's no like affirmation or like positive feedback loop coming in the comment section, I wouldn't be buying it. And especially if they're not responding to your messages as well. So I think those two things you could do immediately if
Yeah.
something grabs your attention.
Yeah. And I think it's important for people following up on this to remember that they're going to work for you. You're not blessed to be in their circle. They are blessed to be able to receive your money and earn your business. So treat it like an interview. You should have face-to-face contact before buying coaching, unless it's simply a template. If it's a coaching training plan online, like read through it. Most of them have free trials or are willing to refund you if it's terrible. But if you're looking for an actual one-on-one coach, I would never, ever start with a coach without
Having a real conversation.
a real conversation. And honestly, I would be skeptical of any coach that would push you towards starting without a conversation. I'm sure there's been times that you have had someone start up with you without having a conversation. And my guess would be that would be the extreme exception to the rule.
Maybe early on in my coaching days, but there's always at least a phone call,
Yeah.
a half an hour or more in duration to chat out nuances. Yeah.
And then you just have to ask them questions. You have to ask, like, what do you see my weaknesses being and how would you address that? Like what you would do in a job interview. What are your beliefs and how much improvement we can see? I think that's a big one. I love when athletes ask me what they think, what I think that we can improve.
Yeah.
Because the people that just tell you crazy things, like, should not be your coach. They should not promise you the world. Shows that they're probably a realist.
Gauge expectations off of pricing though too. If you're looking for, let's say our $19.99 a month running public training plans, like the feedback and interaction you're going to have with that coach or us is going to be limited. But if somebody is asking you for $100 a month for a program, you better be damn confident that you're going to get more than just a template.
And that's a big thing. In this day and age, it's not you get what you pay for. A template online is not as valuable as the money behind it. I do not think people should be paying 3 digits for a template. I really don't, because there's such good stuff available out there for less. When we did our Chat GPT episode, we realized that it got like 90% of the way there without a human even touching the plan. You should not pay $100, $200 for a template. If you're into triple digits, someone should have some sort of interaction with you.
I don't know if there's many out there where I guess I don't know. Can we move to the next one?
Yeah, let's do that. Point being, talk to someone face to face.
Damien says, enjoyed the Q&A. How's Brakken's training going or exercising if he's doing less than 30 miles a week with a tongue out face? Oh, this is interesting. Okay. Did he/you manage to stay on the plan you guys outlined in February, March, or did cart life take over? I know whatever ultra he was thinking about, he's probably keeping on the DL, but I don't recall hearing about the 3-by-mile races he was hoping to hit up this summer and how they went. Just curious. Hopefully he's crushing it in secret. Floor is yours here, Brakken.
I mean, it's flaming pile of turd on my end. I didn't get to any of those 3-mile races.
Yeah, what happened there?
2 of them had cart races on that exact same date. And by the third, I didn't even feel like going and turning myself inside out for a bad time. So that was just weakness on my part. First 2 couldn't make it. The ultras happening this year, it was a fail. Honestly, it was a downright fail. In terms of right now, I'm still under 30 miles per week, but 100% of my running minus warm up cool down is quality. So I'm running every other day to every 3 days, and it's all quality stuff because I'm prepping for a High Rocks doubles race, which is just an interval session. And I had limited time based on my availability and my previous choices that put me behind the 8 ball. And so that's what I'm doing. So I'm getting into fairly okay shape. And then moving on from here is basically just going to be following the type of plans I write my athletes.
What are you doing in between those run days? Just so
strength training.
How about machine type work output?
All quality.
Okay, so so when you're on the ergs or running, you're making it count. You're in that program.
100%. Yeah. Because in a doubles, like we touch the ski erg for a total of 1,000 meters, which means the most I'll ever do is 600 of those meters. I don't have to have a huge base for that. I just need to be able to go 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. So I'm preparing to be able to go a minute on, 30 seconds off, and then I'll be fine. All my rowing is done compromised right now. Like, this isn't best case training. This is crash course training. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
But I feel fairly decent. I'm in better shape than the last time I did a doubles race. And Joyce, I'll be able to put out for you on course, and she's going to carry us.
Let's go, Joyce. Joyce, we had you on the podcast, I don't know, 2 years ago, year and a half ago. It's a good interview. Okay. I'm happy with that.
Kirk, I am cultivating, curating, and people have heard this before, and some may be sick of it, but I'm curating my race goals for next year. So as always, none of them get to be set in stone until Braden's kart racing schedule comes out. But there are some things that I believe are going to work that look a little different and excite me.
Cool. We'll hold off on that conversation.
Yeah, it's if I've learned nothing, it's not even worth getting ahead of it, because the karting comes out and then things can be decided upon.
I'm going to race more next year, by the way. Nobody asked, but I'm telling you anyways.
Kirk, what are your plans for next year?
I'm racing more.
I actually have a race proposal for you.
Okay.
There's a race kind of in between the two of us that I thought might be fun for us to do, but we'll talk
Which
about
race?
that later. I'm not saying it out loud yet.
Okay. All right. But
Again, depending on kart racing.
The racing really invigorated me. And then even just something as simple as going out and hitting a 5K time trial on my own and realizing it's how invigorated I felt afterwards, and encouraged that, man, put yourself in a real environment to go give yourself a chance. Like, I really enjoy, as much as the training and the race itself can be painful and loathful, the feeling afterwards, whether it goes well or poorly, is a feeling I have not been able to replicate anywhere else in my life. Nope. That dopamine or endorphin release after something like that is a high that I need to chase more.
And we have both been fairly competitive at other sports. None of them have one. When I boxed, that was the only thing that came close.
Up in Alaska?
Yeah, no other sport has ever replicated what endurance sports have done, because there's something to the one-on-one aspect and the duration of it and the mental side of it, and not being able to rely on teammates.
Choosing to suffer is powerful. Choosing to suffer. I was roommate at the time was dating, this is a long time ago, was dating like a UFC or an MMA fighter. And I think I mentioned this on the podcast years ago, but I was just like, what the heck, man? He seemed like such a normal guy. Like, I just figure you got to have some demons if you're going in and literally getting your face bashed in.
I think it's like running.
Well, yeah. And he
Different
said,
type of fun.
Well, I didn't describe it as fun. He just said, I have a really hard time being present, and it's the most present in the moment and alive I ever feel. And I'm not thinking about yesterday or the minute from now or a minute ago. I am the most present in the moment in that ring, and I'm addicted to that. And I was like,
interesting.
Say no more. You got to be present. How often are we thinking about what we did or what we're going to do or what we have to do? Half the time I drive 20 minutes and don't even know how the frick I got there because my mind's thinking about other crap, right?
Right.
Can't do that in the ring.
No.
Or when you're really in the pain cave.
Well, like, how many times have we run an ultra and not had a single non-running related thought the entire time?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to people. How would you run for 7 hours and not have your mind stray? Like Tennessee Mile, I did the same 1 mile loop for 6 hours and never lost focus.
Yeah.
I could not do that in regular life. That doesn't exist. That's a part of me that only comes out for that. Like basketball, baseball, other things had highs that running can't touch, for sure. But ball sports cannot touch endurance sports as well in terms of how you feel before, during, and after.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Last one. We're going to give it 3 minutes-ish. And then that'll be a wrap. So Aaron's holding big bass in a picture in his profile picture. So Aaron, I approve. He says, hey guys, big fan here. Started running in May and found this podcast a few months ago. I have a question for the Q&A. I was wondering if working construction of some other kind or some other kind of labor intensive job has any advantages or disadvantages in running. I'm outside and on my feet all day, every day. Is my job just making me more tired for my training, or is it building up some type of strength or endurance, or maybe a little bit of both? Keep up the good work, guys.
Yes. Yeah. I believe that people who work manual labor jobs and time on feet jobs come into running and adapt quicker. I fully believe that. You carry a type of endurance and your tendons and ligaments are just stronger and your musculature is more resilient and durable. And I believe you take to endurance training quicker. I think it then limits you at the top end. You're eventually going to get to a point where you can't handle as much overall training volume or intensity as other people. And if ultras and overnight work, if something like that, if those are on your calendar, then it's also a benefit to you right up into the point where it limits you.
I think it's a help up front and a hindrance
Yeah.
once you become high volume or tenured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you took a construction worker and an office worker, 100 of each, and had them do a last man standing, the construction workers win.
Every time. I mean, barring the exception.
Yeah. Yeah, across the board, the higher percentage of construction workers will win. They're just more durable. You're more used to taxing things. You're going to cramp later into the race than the office worker will. But you take those same jobs and move them up to 100 miles per week, and the construction workers will break down quicker because they have too much stress in their lives.
That really is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think the big thing, I have an athlete, Chris. He began his own landscaping business, and he finally left his job to do this full time. And he was working these long days in the heat, in the summer. Man, I mean, the guy lost weight, and his season's finally wound down as the winter's approaching. And he didn't realize how bad he felt and how
Yeah.
just good he now feels that his output, he was so behind on the caloric front and staying hydrated enough. In Chris's case, it was a huge hindrance. But he's been in this a while now, and it was he couldn't eat enough. And when it's 90 degrees and you're working, you have no appetite. And then you got to run your 8 miles after work, and you're already in a caloric deficit. In that case, hindrance,
Yeah.
without question. I don't know how you get ahead of it, but I still think in the ultra, it may still benefit potentially, as long as you have time to charge up before something big.
I've worked several jobs in my life. The only one that actually prevented me from getting work done from a physical standpoint is when I was doing manual labor all day long. Any other job you get done and you can be exhausted, but if you have some caffeine or whatever and pick yourself up and get warming up, by the end of your warm up, you're ready to rock because it was just mental fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Manual labor is not that way. You will have a deep to the bone fatigue that won't go away until you sleep.
The one time I had a hard time accessing training was actually I worked a swing shift job in a paper mill, and it had nothing to do with, even though it was fairly physical, it was like try working 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. when that's not your schedule, and then like getting anything productive done afterwards was like, I don't know. It was not possible for me in that situation. I don't know how people do it. I have some nurses who work overnights, and they are superheroes still getting their training done. It's unbelievable.
I can't do it.
No. All right. This has to come to an end here. A little shorter than we would like. We still have 5 more questions.
Huh?
So if you hear this and you have a question, shoot it over to us, because the next Q&A we're going to make more time for. So get them in.
We'll see y'all in a few days.
See y'all. Do you say that? See y'all?
I think I just slurred.
Okay. See you all later this week.